Hello, everybody, and welcome. We'll let everybody get connected and we'll be starting shortly.
I love that this is what you're super excited to play for everybody as they enter.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. So it seems like we got a good portion of the attendees we were expecting, so I'll kick this off. So just a couple of things of housekeeping. Thank you very much for joining our very first Cooking with Conan recipe hacking live stream that we're going to be doing with you guys here today. Super ecstatic to be doing this. So for you to learn your controls, if I look at the Zoom stuff, you have the chat as well as a Q&A section. So as we're doing this, please interact with the chat. You are more than encouraged. This is going to be the best way for you to engage with myself and some of the other panelists that are here today. And you get to ask us questions. We're going to answer them as we go along.
So the Q&A is the best part to answer questions so that we can actually have a record of what was asked and answered. So love you, Chris.
Thank you, Lori, for keeping us on track. So today we are going to be working on migrating some ConanCenter index recipes. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with Conan, so I'm not going to spoil the surprise about what that is just yet. And the goal here is for you to get hands-on experience working with Conan 2.0. So in yesterday and this morning, you should have got a reminder with some instructions at the very bottom. Sorry, Zoom didn't let us put them at the top. And there's a developing recipes guide. So if you haven't already set up and installed Conan, I will be sharing the instructions as we go along so you can switch between Conan 1 and Conan 2 and you can get to actually try them out and make recipes work. Be respectful. I think that goes without saying. You are allowed to use the chat and you're free to use it, but try to keep it PG-13 at least. We have to record these and share these on the internet afterwards. So it will be a permanent record. And we're going to kick it off with some polls. So just to get a little bit of groundwork so that we know who's joined us and who hasn't.
Hey, Chris, just real quick too, can you enable the chat for all of us? For some reason, I don't know if Zoom has like some weird settings, it kicked it off. We had somebody mention that in the Q&A.
I don't know how to change the permissions on that one.
Go ahead and make me a co-host if I'm not already, and then I'll do that while you can keep your session moving forward.
Thanks, Laurie.
All right. Ooh, we have some first-time Conan users. Ooh, this is going to be exciting.
Have we figured out the making the chat available for everyone?
Lori is working on it. So
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so
Laurie.
until now, just use the Q&A and then I'll keep moving this forward while you all keep doing the webinar. It's cool. We're good.
all right, I'll give you another 30 seconds to finish the poll. There is 4 questions. All righty. So I showed the results. You should be able to see the different answers from everybody. So not very many people joined from the CPP Lang Slack. I'm terribly disappointed. We're actually one of the most active Slack channels on the CPP Lang Slack. If you're looking for an easy way to ask questions and get help at any point in time, highly recommended. The community is super active there. We have a lot of newcomers to Conan, so we got about 15 people. So I will take a moment to explain Conan, what it is and how it works. And this should give everybody a fair chance. We have a good majority of people who use it every day for work, which is amazing. Most of you have not contributed to ConanCenter Index, so I will definitely share that with you because that is my area of expertise. And what recipe would you like to work on? It seems like we got a pretty good split. Most people want to add a new recipe. There's a few people who are looking to work on updating one, and others are looking to work on one from the list. So perfect. Righty. So we're going to share my desktop. Boom. I will start with Conan. So Conan is the C++ package manager. If you ever try to install or build a project with a ton of dependencies, you've probably ran into issues either trying to build them on your system, trying to get them to work. And what Conan lets you do is have a super easy way of getting started. So if I open up the terminal, and I will start with my Conan 1 workspace. So I have this cute little terminal. This is an Ubuntu 20 instance. And if I do Conan version, you can see I have the latest 1.53. So if you want to install Conan, it's very easy. If you have Python installed, you can just do pip install Conan. Boom. It's already installed, so everything's already ready. There's plenty of other download instructions for you to work with. So if you go to the download button on the website, you can see there's pip install, but there's also some for your package managers. You can always install from source, which is perfect. So what does this let us do, right? So if I make a directory and we'll call it hello, go there, we can do Conan install, and we're going to install FMT, which is a format library. And we're going to do 8.1.1. That's a pretty recent-ish release. And we're going to do -G cmake deps. And this will download the FMT library and save it on my system, you can see here, it actually says cache because I already had it. So if I Conan remove FMT, yes, yes. And let's try that again. There we go. Now it did some downloading. There you go. So what this does is it finds my local settings. So you can see here I'm running GCC version 11. I'm on Linux. It wasn't found in my cache, so it's looking in ConanCenter, which is this beautiful service that we offer. So this is where we host all of the packages that exist. So anytime you do Conan install, by default, it'll search in ConanCenter to try to find them. Now, all of these recipes that you see here are maintained by the community. So we have an open source repository called ConanCenter Index, where you can find all of the recipes. So there's a recipes folder. And if I actually have to type in, because there's so many of them, we have 1,400 recipes. So there's 1,400 different projects that are available for you to use with Conan. Oh, Lori's asking if the chat works. Anybody want to go blurt in there? Ooh. No chat activity. Oops, not good. So you can see here, this is the Conan FMT recipe. And if we go to the Conan file, this is what recipes look like. So this one has already been updated and it already has a lot of the stuff that's required for Conan 2.0. So those are the CMake toolchain, for instance. And some of the tools and utilities have been updated, as well as the properties for generating information. So when I did my install command, I specified CMake depths. So these are called generators in Conan. And if I list the content of my directory, you'll notice that it installed the CMake files that you usually would use if you built it and installed it locally for your own system. So this means you can do your usual CMake find package and everything should work just fine and dandy. And that's what we're gonna work on for version 2 as well. So Conan version 2. All right, so if I do Conan version here, we have our 2.0 beta. So this command is very similar. So we're gonna do Conan install. Actually, let's make a directory first because I'm gonna have to clean this up afterwards. mkdir hello 2. I'm so smart. We're gonna go into that directory and we're gonna do another Conan install. And this one is reference. And we're gonna specify FMT 8.1.1. Oh, it requires, shucks. Shows which one's new. I still haven't memorized it. And you can see here again, it's doing something very similar. And I can do -g CMake depths. If I list my directory, we will see we have the very similar files, but as well as some extra ones, which we'll get into those later.
Hey, Chris, somebody would love for you to make the font a little bit larger just so they can see it better.
Absolutely. Is that good,
Thank you.
everybody?
Also in GitHub, would you navigate code, please? Yeah, there are 2, please.
Did it do it to all my tabs? Oh yeah. Thank you, Google. Alrighty. So when I first came up with this event and sent out the planning and invites for it, I was planning on working on, if I go to our GitHub issues and I look for help, this one over here, Conan 2.0 migration effort. So in order to test and validate the client to make sure that all of the workflows are supported, we want to make sure we support about 80% of the most downloaded recipes. And we took the month of August because that was the most recent data we had. And this list of 106 recipes was almost exclusively red when we started. And you can see most of these are now green and a lot of them are yellow. So if I scroll to the bottom, I had done the numbers on them. October 31st update. So 73 of them are ready. There's 15 that are in progress, and there's 22 that aren't started, but this doesn't include the ones with pull requests. So if we go up to the list, there are a handful of red ones like stdlib that has already been started, and there's a recent pull request that's actually quite a ways into the work. So the community has been absolutely knocking out this list. So I actually had to take the time to make a new list. So I will share this with everybody. You'll see here I have a list of header only at the top, and then there's some CMake and pre-built tools. So I put a difficulty score. This is going to be relative to the recipes and how complicated they get, so it'll be a good index. I already put my name on one of them, so this is the one I'm going to be working on to help migrate. But feel free to put your name here if you want one of them. There was a good portion of you that was looking for it, so. Is everybody able to see the chat is going to be the next question? Because if you can't see the chat, then it's not going to be very helpful. Oh, I can already see people are joining the doc. Perfect, perfect. So I'll let that get going. It doesn't matter which recipe you pick, they'll all mostly be the same. And it'll be pretty easy for you to follow along because I'll be working on them with you. There is a notes column. If you pick one with notes, you will have to do a little bit extras, and I'll definitely try my best to explain them. Oh, graphic robot picked his own library. What a sneaky guy over here. Perfect choice for him. Thank you, Renee, for joining us today. Alrighty. Oh, there's some very familiar names in the list. So I'm going to be starting off with a header only one. If you're picking up a CMake one, you'll have to follow along a little bit. And I'm hoping we have enough time that I'll be able to get to a CMake one as well. And the way I'd like to do this is we're going to start with doing some easy search and replaces that it's going to be inside the recipes. And then we're going to test it with version 1, and then we're going to test it with version 2. And if it all works, we're going to add a test package. So just to give you a quick rundown of what work we need to do. Most of this information will be in the Conan blog. I recently wrote a blog beginning of last month about actually all the steps involved. So if you're wondering what's going to be a good place to review your work and make sure you did it right, or maybe you want to do this again on your own afterwards, this blog post should have almost everything you need. In fact, I'm probably going to copy paste some of my own words here. Ooh. the chat, the Q&A is very active. Glad to see it. Chat is still not working. RIP. I would say put F in chat, but good luck. We'll work on it. Hopefully next time we'll have it set up correctly. So for those of you who are joining us and it's your first experience with Conan, for ConanCenter specifically, there's a couple extra requirements that we have set up so that you can get started and get working. You'll have to have your own fork of ConanCenter Index. I have one already. So if I go into ConanCenter Index, I'm already on a branch. Look at that. We will check out master. Boom. So this is pointing to my fork. So if I get remote V, you can see here origin is pointing to my repository, and then I have an upstream remote as well, which is the main ConanCenter. This is how I like to work myself. Some things we do need to add extra is installing the ConanCenter hooks. So we have a lot of quality checks to make sure the actual correctness of the package. So if I install these, boom, this will have set them up. So when we do Conan install commands, we'll actually get to see checks go by and extra warnings and whatnot. And we will also be setting the error level because we are going to need that. So this will cause the client to actually fail when an error occurs. So usually it'll print all of the messages, but it won't return 0. But we actually want the command to fail so that we can actually see it. It'll make it easier for us when we're working. So we are going to go into the try it yourself section. And we're going to actually try running these commands with the version 1 client. So if I grab my terminal, we need to go into ConanCenter. So ConanCenter Index. We're going to go into recipes, and we're going to go into FMT because that's the one we're going to try to play with today. And if I do Conan search, I should see what I have locally. I only have FMT 8.1. Perfect. So when I run these commands here, I should get everything. So we're going to copy the first one. We're going to paste it. Whoops, that didn't work. Success. So as this text goes flying by, you'll see it's doing a bunch of different things. Find the top over here. Here we go. So those hooks we installed, they're here in ConanCenter Index. You can see they're running. So it's checking for deprecated things that we know aren't good in recipes. The line endings are correct. This makes the GitHub reviews easier. No build system functions. And then we get to the interesting part where it starts doing things like exporting things into our cache. And I'll show you what these Conan data YAML files are in a second. The license checks, and now we're getting into our configuration. So we're going to mostly focus on the host profile. The build profile is for those of you who need to do cross-compiling. I am not the expert on that, but there are plenty of resources where you get to learn about that. For me, because I'm going to be working on Ubuntu for my Ubuntu system, and I want everything to run, these two profiles should match. And that's my default advice to almost everybody when they're getting started. So you can see they're both GCC 11. And that's the important thing to take away from that. We're going to be building a new package. So that's what you can see here. And it's going to be using the recipe that already exists. It was exported, which is why it says it's in the cache. Now, ConanCenter works in a little bit differently from how you would develop your own recipes yourself. So you'll notice here, it's downloading a tarbell. And this is because we always want to offer official releases from ConanCenter Index. So we almost exclusively use this workflow. And if I scroll down a little bit more, you'll notice it built the FMT library. So it actually ran CMake. You can see here it's running in my Conan Data Barbarian folder. And then it does a CMake install. There's some post-package validation to make sure everything's correct. And then the exciting part is we actually have a test package that runs to make sure everything's correct. So we actually compile it and we run the library a few basic commands just to test that everything is packaged correctly. So what does this look like? That looks a little small for y'all. Let me see, how do I make this bigger? That's a little, there you go. So I showed you a recipe on ConanCenter Index, but this is my local development here. And you can see there's quite a few different things going on. So you can see here we have settings and options. These are the binary model for Conan. So this is how you describe the different binary packages that this recipe can produce. There's export sources, and there's this Conan data file, which we'll look at in a moment. We have our CMake toolchain that defines some variables. And there's a bunch of configuring options. There's some package ID stuff. There's this source method that I mentioned. You'll notice that Conan data comes up again. And this is how we tell Conan to download the recipes. The build instructions are just CMake configure and build, CMake installed. We have to delete some extra files, and I'll explain that in a moment if I get a chance. And that Conan data file I keep talking about looks like this. Sources, patches, and it's just a link to the resource and a SHA, so we can make sure we downloaded the correct thing. Awesome. Now, if I go back to the list, I am supposed to be working on ear cuts. So let's go there. Ear cuts. Whoops. In the right place. So let's open up my code editor. Boom. Oh, yes, I trust all the authors. I clicked approve on all of them. Whew. So EarCut is a header-only library. It's a little bit more complicated than some of the basic ones that are available for you guys to work on. And as a header-only thing, it's very easy to work with. There is a source method, a package method, and a package ID. This one has a little extra. It has a validate method. That's because this is a C++ 11 library. And in order for us to build it in ConanCenter Index for the 1.x infrastructure, it's a very specific reason, we also need to check the compiler version. So you can see here, this one is doing a bunch of checks for Apple Clang, GCC, and Visual Studio. Thankfully, this requires GCC 4.9, so I definitely have that, and I can definitely work. But I should probably double check to make sure. G++ -v. I got 11. Perfect. So I can definitely work on that. I should also be able to build it right away. So if I check the config file over here, this is how we describe the versions that are available for the ConanCenter Index to build when you have pull requests. And I'm going to build the latest version. So that seems like a good place to start. Copy paste. I'm going to just do Conan create that at, and I need to specify all because I'm in the ear cuts and the recipe is under all. So I can do /Conan file.py. and I didn't put a space. So this should build. There shouldn't be any problems. This should already work. It's perfect. Oops. So if we grab our recipe, what I like to do when I start these migration process is I usually like to start with the tools. So for the most part, these now got moved around and shuffled. So you can see here we have tools.get and tools check min CPP STD. So I will, well, keeping imports, so I'll do from Conan imports, and then we'll do Conan.tools.build. We'll do build first. I got this wrong already. Shucks. And then we've got to do CPP STD. Oh my God. Now, you're probably wondering, how in the hell did I know exactly what to switch and replace? And the answer is I've done way too many of these. And I've reviewed quite a few as well. So in order to figure out which ones are where, your best answer is going to be the Conan docs. So what I like to do is start off with our cheat sheet. So if we go back to ConanCenter index, and I go to the docs folder, and I go down to migration. Is this the right one? No, it's not. Dun, dun, dun. Linter. There you go. Most of these are described here in this table. So if I do CPP, so you can see here, Conan tools check min CPP STD became Conan without the S. Thank God that's finally replaced. We now have tools build check min CPP STD. And you'll notice here, this is available in Conan version 150. So when we work on our recipe, we need to make sure to put that. Now this one doesn't even have it. Oof, perfect. So I need to look that up. So we do Conan min version. Required Conan version greater than 150. Hey, perfect. It's exactly the line that I need to copy paste. I can stick it here. And voila, we've upgraded one import. Most of these 2.0 migrations are just as easy as this, and you just have to work through the list. So our other tools was get. So if I go back to our cute little table, and I look for get, that didn't help me. Let's do dot get. Oh, it's the first one on the list. Perfect. You can see here, this is now in files, which makes sense because this here is downloading a tarball and dealing with files. So it's pretty easy. Control Z, Control Z. And then we're going to put up here, we're going to copy that. And then we'll do files, imports, gets. Right? And now we shouldn't need this anymore. Ideally, if I did this right, we should be off to a much better start. Now, I can always double check by rerunning our Conan create command. So, oops. Oh God, I already broke something. Oh, shucks. What does it say here? Type error messing first required positional requirement Conan file. And now we go back here. We can always go click on our links. This will take us to the official Conan docs. So this is the #1 reference point, and everything that's in Conan should be documented here. And if it's not, open an issue. It definitely should be there. You notice here, this first argument is supposed to be a Conan file. Now, if I duplicate this, is that a little small for everybody? There we go. Ooh. So if I look up tools, gets, look up gets. This one. We can check also the old syntax. So you notice here, this is the old reference section for the older docs, and this is just tools get, and this is our Conan tools files.get. And here it did not take a Conan file at the beginning. So because this is Python, and Python's super nice, our Conan file is the class we're working in. So all you have to do for this is add self. And that's it. It's magic. We go back and we run this again. It builds, it tests, everything works. It's perfect. So next up is some of the other hiding files utilities. So if we look for copy, C-O-P-Y. I cannot spell for the life of me. All right. You can notice here in the package method, we also have two of them. So we're going to add our copy over here. I know this is a files one. You can trust me. If you don't, we can go double check our list over here. Copy is now files copy. And then we can delete self and move it over here. And we can do the same to this one. And we would stick it over here. And voila. This doesn't work. Oh God. Multiple values for argument self. Oh, Joyce. So we need to do, this is pattern. This is destination. And we do again, we do pattern equals one equals. Come on, gotta get my fingers working. Oh, and this one already had destination. Look at that. So if we try this again, we should be in business, right? Oh, dang it, again. Now it's our hooks that are failing, thankfully. So you can see here it says no license folder found. Now, the reason for this, if you notice here, our destination is just licenses. It's a relative path. One of the changes between the 1.x self copy and the new 2.0 files copy is this is no longer a relative. It needs to be an absolute. So we need to do os.path.join, and we need to put our self.package folder. We'll copy this into the other destination. Copy, paste. Now, if I'm lucky, and I'm smart, which is definitely not something you should rely on, it should work. No. Now what did I screw up? License folder not found in package. Oh golly, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I actually don't know what I did wrong. Whoops. Anybody want to do a code review and rip me a new one? What did I miss? Package artifacts not matched settings. License folder not found. All right, so if I open up this directory, we do ls minus LA. What did it stick in here? Nothing. Oof. We got our copy.
Chris, check the Q&A. People are trying to help you out.
Oh, layouts. Oh, yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, there we
Thank you,
go.
attendees. You're awesome.
See, this is why you guys do most of the work and not me. Martin has been absolutely slaying some of the 2.0 migration, which explains why he knew it right away. It's self-source folder. Yeah. So I completely forgot we need to do a layout. So one of the big changes in Conan 2.0 is we got the addition of layouts. Now, if we go to our trusty Conan docs and we look for layouts, we can learn all about layouts. So this is how you teach Conan your local project structure. So one of the downsides to Conan 1.x was that your local source directory and what was being built in the cache didn't have the exact same file structure. That's being corrected now with these layouts. So it makes it a lot easier to do super fun things like editable inline edit or edit from your cache recipes. And this makes it really easy to work on different dependencies. So if you're trying to work on one of your dependencies and you have it locally in your cache, you can do that with this now finally. So because we're doing header only project, what we're going to use is the basic layout. So we're going to go just copy this. We're going to stick it into our imports over here. And then we are going to do basic layout. Now, is this going to be the magic thing to make it work? No. And that's because we're still doing some weird stuff. So if we look for source, you notice here we're using this property for the source directory, and this one's also a relative path. So for ConanCenter, this was our old convention because we used relative directories for everything. So we're just going to delete this, and we're going to change it to source folder. We got one more over here. Now we'll be in business. Oops. There's the font better. Yes, it works. Oh, finally. Whew. That was so hard, especially when you forgot what you're doing. But God bless you guys in the community for being able to help me out, because I wouldn't be able to do my job without you.
Speaking of community, can you look at some of the questions, Chris, to see if you can answer them live?
Oh, it doesn't share when I open up the questions. Perfect. Yes, I absolutely can. All right, so FY, using the Python language server plugin and you installed via Conan pip, IntelliSense should find imports. Do I have Python? Install in WSL. I love that. Thank you, Alex. So, question about layouts. Oh, Diego is typing an answer. And then we got Renee saying, did you forget to change the package ID? Yes, I did. Renee for the win over here. So now that we have this Python extension, oh, look at that. Now it knows all our imports. Perfect. So Renee's call out is to the package ID. Now, one of the big changes in Conan 2.0 is we need to change this to clear. Now, the reason we need to change from header only to clear is because in Conan 2.0, we're going to be getting a compatibility.py. So if I sneak over to our Conan docs and I go to, my Zoom controls are in the way, 2.0. What's new in Conan 2.0? So this is the list of all the new features that are coming out. And one of them is compatibility. So in Conan 2.0, you're going to be able to describe your own compatibility. So by default, it comes with CPP STD, so it can look for higher ones or lower ones. But having this new feature gives you a ton of customization. And by doing the clear, we have always the same package ID, and that's how Conan resolves its settings. So for those of you who are new and want to learn about it, you'll definitely want to go check out Conan's package ID system. There is a talk by Diego. He recently did at ACCU. Let me see if I can pull that up. ACCU Conan 2 model. Here it is. This YouTube talk has everything you need to know about it. So you can learn about the model, how the graph resolution works, how it picks your dependencies, how you can resolve conflicts, and how you can really take advantage of this for your C++ dependency graph. Very, very good talk if you want to learn about Conan. We have more questions. Survive, done. Those. All right. So if everything works, we should be able to call Conan create. Everything runs, everything works. Did I miss anything obvious? Probably just the validate method, because that's a big thing that we need to look at, isn't it? All right. So the only method we haven't touched is this validate section. And YouTube link. Let me share that for everybody. There you go. Perfect. So in the chat, despite you not being able to use it, I can, and I just shared the YouTube link that I was referencing. So the next thing we need to do is we need to work on this validate method. So all this compiler logic. So one of the changes we need to make is we need to change this to info. And this is the same reason as this. So when you're validating it, packages in Conan, I should probably explain what this is for. All right, let me take a step back here for you guys. So the validate method is how you ensure that this package, this recipe is compatible with yours. So if I were to change my settings and I would put something that's less than C++11, we'd want this to fail. So if I go to Conan 2.0 and I go to recipes, here cuts, and I do Conan creates, and we're going to do version, what version are we doing? 2.2.4. Oh, we missed stuff. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so I can't show that just yet, but I will in a second. We need to make sure these compilers are up to date. So everywhere it says self settings. We're going to do a search and replace, and we're going to just put self info settings. So this is a pretty easy one, just search and replace. Done. Now, since I ran this in the 2.0, we can also see it's failing because it cannot import. I'm going to fix the font on this one for you guys as well. That does not look very good across Zoom, unfortunately for us. So I added a bunch of imports, but I did not get rid of these old ones here at the top. So Conan file is easy. It just becomes Conan instead of Conans. And the same is true for errors. So those two are pretty easy. Now, I believe we should have everything. Whoops. Did I? Oh, I know what I did. I didn't save my work. That's always helpful. Git commit. Minus A, minus M. Let's make a branch first because that would be smart. Then I can actually put this on a pull request. Git check out minus B ear cut. All right, then we do git push. And then it tells me where to push to. Yes, I want to push to origin. And if I switch to my other one, do git fetch, git checkout minus B, that. We're going to track origin slash that. Perfect. And now, still got it wrong. Shucks. There's no Conans. Beauties of doing things on a live stream. So for those of you who are probably blowing me up in the chat, what did I do wrong? I forgot. Where's the Zoom controls gone? Oh, seven things. Oh, two things in the chat. Push your changes. Yeah, there you go. Smart guy right there. Yeah, I obviously forgot to do that. So if we go to the diff quickly, just to go over that. You can see here the imports. They got a little bit more bloated, but they're much more explicit. So it's much easier to see we're working with some files, we're doing some builds, and we have some layouts. We now have a minimum required version. So if you're using a version less than this of the clients, you're going to need to update. We added our layout, so +1 there. We also have our self-info settings. And our tools now have the tool name and they pass the Conan file in. And we switch to using absolute paths. So our package folder is an absolute path to where we're working from the recipe. And that's partly defined by the layout. And lastly, we have our package ID, which now does a clear. So if I go and I fix that one pesky white space that I noticed. So ear cuts, Conan v2 support. I'm gonna make a nice commit over here. Shucks, git email doesn't work. Really? We are going to be waiting. So since I did not set up my environment, I will not be doing a proper commit. So do as I say, not as I do. This is one of those typical life advice from a young guy type of moments. Now, if I go back, I should have the right file for it to work. I don't. What did I do wrong? Golly. Oh, it did work. It did work. Oh, shucks. So it actually did build and it did call package and it actually packaged it correctly. It's just it failed doing the test package. So we are making progress. So the test packages are a little bit more involved. We have a few minutes left, so let's see if I can do this easy. So in ConanCenter, we have these package templates. Now, these are a godsend, and William, one of our panelists, created them, and the community has been contributing back to them. This gives us the ability to just very easy copy paste some things. So if I go to header only, because that's what I'm working on, we need to grab, oh God, there's 2 test packages. Shucks, we got to do 2 test packages. We're going to grab this one. We're gonna copy this sucker. We're gonna go to our Conan workspace. We're gonna go on our test package. We're gonna stick it in here. We're gonna get rid of these lines for cleanup. We'll do the same for the other 2 files. Things aren't actually going to help us too much. So if we go here, we need to get rid of this. This is going to become find package. And this is ear cuts. And this is going to be config. And then we're going to do required. Now, if we go back to our Conan file, you'll notice there's nothing here about CMake, but I did mention it earlier. So if I go here, header only, all, ConanFile.py, most projects that are CMake based will actually define and export CMake targets. So you can see here in the header only template, we have a bunch of different examples for how this usually works. So module files are for the official CMake targets. So if I go CMake find modules, and I go find modules, and it would be these ones here. So these are the official ones. So most projects don't get this. Most projects, what they do is they call CMake install and they install config files. So that is the default behavior that we're going to go with, because earcut is a header only project. It doesn't actually define any of these. So if I look for install over here, oh, it does. Oh, shucks, look at that. So here we have our target, which is earcut HPP, and that's the namespace. So this recipe is actually missing this information. So I go back. I need to copy these. So these are the types of things that usually come up during a code review. So when we go through these, we always try to make sure these are correct. So one of the guiding principles in ConanCenter Index is we always try to respect upstream. So the fact that these were missing is a mistake. Here, cut each. And this is the same for the namespace. And now let me double check to make sure I got that right. And we'll probably finish on some Q&A. So yeah, that's how they wrote it. Perfect. So not only did we start the migration for this header only recipe, but we also fixed a bug in it. So we also need to do the 2.0 stuff to make sure those still work as well. So part of the migration process is to make sure we don't break anything. So we're just going to make sure these are all correctly laid out. And let's jump to the Q&A. Now it complains about the test package. Yes, it does.
And it's important that information, Chris, has to be in package info, not in package ID.
I apologize. I didn't hear you clearly.
Yeah, all the CPP info set properties and file names must be in the package info method, not in package ID. In package ID only belongs the info.clear. It was what Marcus was saying in the chat, in the Q&A. Yeah, so in your recipe,
Oh, yeah.
you copied it into the package ID. Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Thanks, Marcus. And Alexander also realized that. Thank you.
You guys need to start doing code reviews for ConanCenter Index. That's the takeaway from this. So it usually takes me about 2 hours to do one of these. So I'm not surprised that we did not finish one of them. All right, so let's see if I can answer some more. FYI, you forgot to update the target link libraries to call the discovered targets. Yes. So I did not finish upgrading the test package. So in here, we have earcut HPP because the project did not define them correctly. And here we should be able to do earcut HPP : earcut HPP. Now, the beauty about this is if this was your project and you were using Conan and you were already using the correct targets from this project, if I go back, right, so you're already relying on this install logic from the project itself, you would not have to make any changes. And this should just work right out of the box for you if you wanted to adopt Conan. So thank you for that one as well. Why does CCI run the V2 test package through Conan 1.x? Oh, that's a perfect question. Oh, it disappeared on me. So the reason for this is we want the migration process to be perfectly smooth. So sometimes when major revisions come out, it's really daunting to do the upgrade. So you should be able to perfectly upgrade all of your recipes with Conan 1.x for them to work and then to safely move to Conan version 2. And the reason we're doing the test package here for version 1 and 2 is to make sure that migration is perfectly smooth. And if we go back to our template over here, and go back to our all folder, you'll notice we also need to add a test v1 package. So this here has the logic for the old legacy generators that are being deprecated. And this is to make sure that downstream recipes are not broken. So because we have to do the bottom, we have to do the roots before the leaves, we need to make sure that the next project down the stream can still be built and work in ConanCenter Index. All righty. We have another question. Try to answer this one. For libraries providing its own CMake config file, who's responsible to set up the CMake prefix path? Earlier, Conan's used to be, for example, use the CMake path generator. Does CMake deps now do that? So if you want to provide your own config files, so if you wanted to bundle the config files that were being generated here by the CMake install, for instance, what you would need to do is disable CMake deps, add those files to the CMake build modules. So on the CPP info object in your package info, you can add build modules. You would add those files there, and then you would use the CMake toolchain to be able to load those. So the CMake toolchain is now the one that gets the ability to do that, not CMake deps. So hopefully that answers your question, Mark. How to verify if the recipe itself is broken, including library code C++, or is that my setup quirk? Is there an official ConanCenter Docker image where I can run Conan create? libsolus emits some weird template errors. Brilliant question. There are Docker images. So if I find my docs again, go to docs, and we'll go to developing recipes locally. there are testing more environments. So you can actually run the exact Docker images that we use in ConanCenter Index. So you can see here, these docs are a little bit newer, so they're not the best. But you can do Docker run, and you can actually mount your local directory, and you can do the Conan IO GCC8s. And these are in a repository, Conan Docker tools. And they are all located here. If you want to use these, I will share the link in the chat, and you can test and run them like that as well. So, is there any new functionality in 2.0 to test recipes themselves outside of test packages? The use cases for distributing generalized recipes, which are then included in other recipes via Python requires and Python requires extends. Oh, we're getting some Python Pro, Conan Pro users asking about these questions now. And we'd like to test that the generalized recipes thoroughly. What is your suggestion for this specific use case? I actually don't know. So this is a little bit outside of my area of expertise. Diego, do you think you want to answer that one? Diego's answering the other question, unfortunately.
Yeah, so sorry, I was typing a response for Alvaro, so I was not following what you said.
All right. I will skip that question. If you want, you can ping me on the CPP Lang Slack, and I will do my best to give you a good answer there. And Diego, you're answering the last question, so that's perfect. So we are running over. I'm super thrilled that you guys were able to help me. That was amazing. Thank you so much for that. For those of you who are new to Conan, I hope you got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to work with, minus my bad skill set. But you can see that others in the community are absolute gods at this stuff. So thank you very much for joining us. And I will end it there since there are no more questions.
Thanks, everybody. And like I said, we should have the recording sent to you in the next couple of days.
Awesome. Thanks everybody for attending, and thanks Chris for showing us how to do this.
It was absolutely my pleasure.
And thanks for the rest of the Conan team who have been answering questions as well.